Silence is stronger than reaction because it holds a power that words can't match. When someone hurts you, especially a man who thought he had you figured out, the natural urge is to respond, to scream, to cry, to explain, to prove your side of the story. But when you choose silence, you take all that power back. You shift the energy from defense to dominance because silence makes people wonder. It makes them question what's going on in your mind, what you're feeling, and why you're not reacting the way they expected. And that mystery is powerful. It unsettles them. They can't predict your next move, and that drives them crazy. When you react emotionally, you're feeding the situation. You're showing them that they still have a piece of your peace. But when you go quiet, when you stop feeding their ego, you starve their control. Silence becomes your weapon, not because it's cold, but because it's calm. It says, you don't deserve access to my emotions anymore. That calmness is confidence. It's a signal that you've outgrown the drama and that your peace of mind is more valuable than winning an argument. The one who speaks less often holds more power because every word becomes intentional and every silence carries meaning. A man expects chaos after he hurts a woman. He expects shouting, crying, long texts, emotional pleas. That's the script he knows. But when you break that pattern with silence, you rewrite the story. Suddenly he's confused. He starts thinking about what you're doing, where you are, who you're with. He begins to realize that maybe he doesn't know you as well as he thought. Silence makes him reflect because it forces him to sit with the weight of his own actions without distraction. There's no noise to drown out the guilt, no confrontation to shift the blame, just quiet accountability. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you've mastered self-control. It means you've chosen peace over performance. It takes real strength to stay calm when your emotions want to explode. It takes real power to stay graceful when you could easily go off. That silence becomes your shield. It protects your dignity. It guards your energy, and it makes people think twice before they try to play with your heart again. The one who can stay quiet in chaos always wins because their peace can't be shaken by someone else's noise. When you stop reacting, you start healing. You start seeing things clearly. You realize you don't need closure from them. You create it for yourself. You realize your silence doesn't need to prove a point. It already has. It's not about ignoring your feelings. It's about controlling your response. Your silence speaks volumes. It says, I'm not fighting for attention. I'm focused on elevation. And while they're trying to figure out why you're so calm, you're already moving on to better things. That's the beauty of silence. It teaches them they no longer have access to your peace. And that's a lesson words could never deliver. Pulling back creates curiosity because distance makes people see what they took for granted. When you're always available, always answering, always explaining, they start to assume your presence is permanent. They think you'll always be there no matter what they say or do. But the moment you pull back, the energy shifts. Suddenly, your silence becomes louder than your words. Your absence becomes noticeable, and the same person who ignored your presence starts to crave your attention. That's how human nature works. People chase what's no longer chasing them. When you were giving, they were taking. When you pull back, they start to realize how much they were receiving. When you stop showing up in the same way, you break a pattern they were comfortable with. It makes them think, what happened? Did I lose her? Why is she acting different? That confusion is powerful because it makes them reflect. Pulling back isn't about manipulation. It's about rebalancing the energy. It's a reminder that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. The more you pull back, the more they start to see your value because you've removed the comfort of your consistency. People don't see your worth when you're always within reach. They see it when you step back and they realize how quiet life feels without your energy in it. When you pull back, you give yourself space to breathe and heal. It's not just about making them curious. It's about reclaiming your peace. You stop waiting for messages that don't come, stop forcing conversations that go nowhere, and stop pouring into someone who stopped filling your cup. That space you create is where your self-worth starts to grow again. It's where your confidence rebuilds and your energy resets, because sometimes you can't hear your own voice when you're surrounded by noise. Pulling back gives you clarity, and that clarity shows you what truly deserves your energy. When you stop reaching out, the right people will notice. The ones who genuinely care will come closer. The ones who are just using you will fade away. That's how life filters itself when you step back. And the man who hurt you, the one who thought you couldn't live without him, will feel that shift the hardest, because your pullback removes his sense of control. He'll start to wonder why you're not reacting, why you're not chasing, why you're not begging for attention anymore. That confusion forces him to confront the truth that he lost someone rare. Pulling back doesn't mean you're bitter or cold. It means you've stopped trying to force people to understand your worth. You've realized that you don't have to convince anyone to treat you right. They either see it or they lose it. And once you pull back, once you stop giving your energy freely, you'll notice something powerful. Peace feels better than proving a point. The moment you detach, you shift the power, because nothing is more attractive, more mysterious, or more powerful than a woman who chooses to protect her peace instead of fighting for someone's attention. Peace is the real revenge, because nothing confuses or humbles someone more than seeing you calm after they tried to break you. When someone hurts you, they expect chaos. They expect you to lose your balance, to fall apart, to fight back, to show them that they still have control over your emotions. But when you respond with peace, when you stay grounded, unbothered, and focused, it throws them off completely. They can't understand how you're still standing, how you're smiling, how you're moving forward like they never existed. That peace becomes your power, because it shows that their actions failed to shake your spirit. It tells them that you've mastered the art of control, that you've risen above what was meant to destroy you. Peace is something you build from within. It's not about pretending you're okay or hiding your feelings. It's about deciding that you won't let chaos live rent-free in your mind anymore. When you start choosing peace over revenge, you're no longer reacting, you're leading. You stop being controlled by pain and start being guided by purpose. That's when real transformation happens, because revenge might make you feel powerful for a moment, but peace keeps you powerful for life. Peace is quiet strength. It doesn't make noise, but it changes everything around you. When you stay peaceful, you make people uncomfortable, not because you're cold, but because they expected to see you broken. They wanted to see you chasing answers, proving yourself, or trying to hurt them back. But instead, you gave them nothing. No reaction, no drama, no access. That's when the confusion starts. They begin to question how they lost the control they thought they had. Peace isn't passive. It's the loudest statement you can make. It says, you no longer have the power to disturb me. That calmness becomes magnetic. It draws respect. It commands attention. And it reminds people that you've grown beyond the chaos they tried to leave you in. Peace also shows maturity. It takes real strength to walk away when your pride wants to fight. It takes wisdom to understand that not every battle deserves your energy. When you choose peace, you're telling yourself that your mental health, your happiness, and your future mean more than proving a point. And once you reach that level of understanding, nothing and no one can shake you the same way again. The man who hurt you will expect anger, but when he sees peace, he sees a version of you that's untouchable. That's when he starts to realize the true weight of what he lost. Peace isn't weakness, it's emotional control. It's saying, I could respond, but I won't. It's choosing to protect your energy instead of wasting it on someone who didn't value it. When you stop chasing closure, stop arguing, and start moving forward quietly, your peace becomes your presence, and your presence becomes your power. People don't forget the person who walked away in peace while they were still living in chaos. because that calm will echo louder than any revenge ever could. Glow up, don't blow up, because nothing hits harder than showing your strength through success instead of shouting your pain through anger. When someone hurts you, the first instinct is to explode, to make them feel what you felt, to show them how deeply they wounded you. But that reaction only gives them power. It shows they still control your emotions. The real move, the smart move, is to channel that energy into your growth. Turn that heartbreak into hustle, that pain into purpose, and that disappointment into drive. When you glow up, you're telling the world and yourself that you refuse to let anyone be the reason you fall apart. You're rising not for revenge, but for redemption. Glowing up doesn't just mean looking better, it means becoming better. It's a shift in mindset, in confidence, in the way you carry yourself. It's about waking up one day and realizing you don't owe anyone a reaction, just results. You start focusing on your goals, your peace, your future. You start showing up for yourself the way you used to show up for people who didn't deserve it. And slowly, that pain that once consumed you turns into fuel that drives you further than you've ever gone. When people see that transformation, they're not sure what changed. They just know they can't reach you the way they used to. Blowing up is easy. Anyone can lose their cool, post their pain, or throw words in anger. But glowing up takes patience. It takes self-control. It takes nights of silence, tears that no one sees, and a determination that says, this will not break me. You invest in yourself instead of arguments. You choose progress over pity. You pour that energy back into your goals, your body, your spirit, and before you know it, you're not the same person anymore. You're stronger, wiser, and more peaceful. The same person who once hurt you won't even recognize the version of you they created, because you turned what was meant to destroy you into something divine. When you glow up, you're not proving anything to them, you're proving it to yourself. You're showing that no heartbreak, no betrayal, no rejection can define your destiny. The best kind of revenge is not revenge at all. It's living well. It's walking into rooms with confidence, not bitterness. It's looking in the mirror and loving who you see, not because someone else validates you, but because you finally validate yourself. That's the real glow up. It's not external, it's internal. The man who hurt you might expect chaos, but when he sees growth instead, it shakes him, because now he's watching you do better without him. He's watching you smile when he thought you'd crumble. He's watching you succeed in silence, and that silence is louder than any argument. Glowing up confuses him because he can't understand how you turned pain into power, how you took heartbreak and built a higher version of yourself. That's the difference between blowing up and glowing up. One burns bridges, the other builds empires. Don't explain, just evolve, because the moment you stop defending your growth, you start owning it. When someone hurts you or misunderstands you, the instinct is to explain yourself, to justify your silence, your decisions, or your change. But not everyone deserves that explanation. Some people only listen to argue, not to understand. And when you keep explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you drain your own energy. The truth is, growth doesn't need permission. You don't need to announce every shift, every boundary, every evolution. Just move different. Let your actions be your statement and your peace be your proof. When you evolve, people will notice. Some will support it, some will question it, and some will resent it. But that's not your burden to carry. You're not here to convince anyone why you're healing, changing, or choosing yourself. You've already spent too much time trying to make people see your worth. Now it's time to live it. The best response to doubt, disrespect, or disappointment is transformation. Don't waste time telling them you've changed. Show them. Because when you start evolving, you stop explaining. And when you stop explaining, you reclaim your power. Silence during your growth phase is sacred because it protects you from opinions that can slow you down. People will always have something to say. The moment you start doing better, they'll question your motives. They'll say you've changed, that you're different, that you're not the same anymore. And they'll be right. You're not supposed to be. You're supposed to evolve. You're supposed to outgrow certain habits, certain circles, certain relationships. But instead of explaining why you're no longer tolerating what once broke you, you just move differently. You stop giving energy to what drains you and start giving energy to what builds you. That shift speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Evolving means learning to prioritize peace over proving a point. It's about realizing that the people who truly understand you don't need an explanation, and the ones who demand one will never accept it anyway. You don't have to defend the boundaries that protect your peace. You don't have to justify the distance you create from chaos. You don't have to explain why your silence got louder. Evolution is personal. It's between you, your growth, and your peace. The world will catch up when it's ready. The man who hurt you will expect a reaction. He'll expect questions, anger, closure. But when you stop explaining and start evolving, you take away his control. He won't know what's happening because you've outgrown the version of yourself he once knew. You're not proving anything. You're progressing quietly. That's what confuses people the most, when they can't recognize you anymore. Not because you've changed into someone else, but because you finally became who you were meant to be. You stopped explaining and started evolving, and that evolution speaks for itself louder than words ever will. Absence teaches more than presence, because when you're always available, people stop seeing your value. They get used to your kindness, your time, your energy, your love. They start assuming it's endless, that no matter how they act, you'll always be there waiting. But when you step back, when your voice isn't the one checking on them, when your energy isn't the one uplifting them, they feel that void. Suddenly, the silence that they once ignored becomes loud. Your absence becomes a mirror that shows them what they lost. Presence is comfort, but absence is the lesson. It reminds them of the weight of your worth, the warmth of your care, and the peace they once had when you were around. Sometimes you have to disappear to be seen. When you pull back, it doesn't mean you're punishing anyone. It means you're protecting your energy. You're giving yourself time to heal, to recharge, to focus on you instead of proving yourself to people who never appreciated you. Absence resets the balance. It reminds others that your presence was a gift, not an obligation. People remember silence more than noise because it makes them think. It makes them question what changed, where they went wrong, and why they suddenly miss what they once took for granted. That's the power of stepping away without bitterness. Your absence becomes the teacher they never knew they needed. Absence also reveals the truth. When you stop showing up, you see who starts looking for you. When you stop reaching out, you see who reaches back. When you stop pouring, you see who was truly pouring into you. It separates the real from the convenient, the genuine from the temporary. Sometimes you don't need confrontation to see people's intentions. You just need distance. The people who care will feel your absence, not because they miss what you did for them, but because they miss you. The rest will simply move on, and that is your answer. When you're always present, you make life easy for others. You fix things, smooth situations, offer comfort, but in doing so, you sometimes forget to take care of yourself. Absence gives you the space to rebuild your boundaries and remind yourself that your energy isn't free. The right people will respect that space. They'll wait, they'll understand, they'll grow alongside you. The wrong ones will be angry, confused, or dismissive because they were never there for you. They were there for what you gave. That's why absence is powerful. It filters your circle and protects your peace without a single word. For the one who hurt you, absence hits the hardest because he was used to your presence being his comfort, his safety, his assurance. When you stop showing up, when you stop answering, when you stop caring, he starts to feel that emptiness. He starts replaying moments he ignored, words he dismissed, love he mishandled. That distance becomes the lesson he didn't expect. Your silence becomes the echo that keeps reminding him of what he lost, not because you tried to teach him, but because your absence spoke louder than anything you could have said. Confidence confuses the guilty because people who try to break you never expect you to stand taller after the storm. When someone hurts you, they secretly believe they've taken something from you, your peace, your smile, your worth. They expect you to shrink, to doubt yourself, to question your value. But when you rise with confidence, when you hold your head high and walk like you never lost yourself, it shakes them. They start wondering how you're still glowing after the pain they caused. Confidence is the one thing they can't take because it's built from within. It's the reminder that no matter what anyone did to you, they never had the power to define who you are. Confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It means knowing your worth even when others didn't see it. It means you no longer seek validation from the same people who broke you. You stop asking why they did what they did, and you start reminding yourself who you've always been. That kind of confidence is intimidating to anyone who tried to control you, because when they realize they no longer have emotional power over you, it exposes their weakness. They lose the game they created because your self-assurance destroyed the control they once had. When you start carrying yourself with confidence after being hurt, people get confused. They expect to see pain in your eyes, but all they see is peace. They expect to see you chasing answers, but all they see is progress. That's when the shift happens. They start to replay everything they did, trying to understand how you got stronger instead of bitter. Confidence makes them face their actions without the satisfaction of seeing you broken. It reminds them that they underestimated the strength of your spirit. You didn't just survive the pain, you rose above it. Confidence is silent. It doesn't need to announce or prove anything. It shows in your energy, in your smile, in the way you move. You walk differently because you know you've healed from things that once hurt you deeply. You speak differently because you've learned that your voice has value even if someone once ignored it. You love differently because you understand your heart is a gift, not something to be taken lightly. That inner confidence radiates outward. It attracts peace and repels drama. It keeps you grounded even when people try to shake your foundation. The man who hurt you will notice your confidence before anything else. He'll see the way you glow without his validation, and it'll confuse him because he expected you to crumble. He'll realize that the pain he caused didn't destroy you. It built you. Confidence makes him reflect because it shows him that he no longer has control over your emotions, your future, or your joy. That's what confuses the guilty. They thought they broke you, but they accidentally helped you rebuild into someone stronger, wiser, and more powerful than before. Confidence turns your pain into presence, and that presence becomes a reminder that your strength was never dependent on anyone else. Nothing confuses a man more than your silence after he hurts you. He expects noise, anger, tears, explanations, arguments. He expects to see you chasing closure or demanding answers. But when you go quiet, when you stop responding, when you no longer give energy to his chaos, it throws him off balance. Silence is not weakness, it's power. It tells him that you've outgrown the need to be understood by someone who chose to misunderstand you. It shows him that his words and actions no longer deserve space in your peace. Silence speaks volumes, and the message it carries is louder than any argument ever could. When a woman goes silent, it makes a man replay everything he did. He starts wondering why you're not reacting, why you're not calling, why you're not trying to fix things, because deep down, he fed off your reactions. He felt important every time you begged, explained, or cried. Your energy fueled his ego, but silence starves it. When you take that energy back and turn inward, he starts feeling the emptiness that he once left you with. He starts realizing the weight of his actions, not because you told him, but because your absence forced him to face it. That's why silence is powerful. It turns the mirror toward him. Silence also protects your dignity. It keeps you from saying things in pain that you might regret later. It gives you time to think, to heal, to rise without explanation. You don't need to prove your pain to someone who caused it. You don't owe them a breakdown. Your silence tells the story on its own. It says, I saw everything, I understood everything, and I'm done giving you my energy. There's no louder statement than walking away without a word. It's not about being cold, it's about choosing peace over chaos. When you stop talking, you stop feeding what hurt you, and that's where your power begins to grow. Men get confused when you go silent because they mistake it for indifference, but what they don't realize is that indifference is the final stage of healing. You've gone through the anger, the sadness, the pain, and now you've reached a point where it no longer moves you. That's the scariest place for them because it means they've lost their emotional grip. Silence becomes your armor. It's calm, it's controlled, and it's unbothered. It doesn't seek revenge, it simply detaches. And that detachment drives them crazy because they can't control what they can't reach. Your silence teaches them more than your words ever could. It shows growth. It shows discipline. It shows you've learned to respond differently to what once broke you. It makes them see that you're no longer the same person they once took for granted. They thought silence meant defeat, but really it's the sound of transformation. The power of silence is that it doesn't demand anything. It simply shifts the energy back to you. When you choose silence, you're not avoiding confrontation. You're mastering self-control. You're not ignoring pain. You're protecting your peace. And that kind of silence is louder than any cry, stronger than any confrontation, and more confusing than any explanation you could ever give. When a man hurts you, one of the hardest things to remember is that your value was never tied to how he treated you. You were valuable before he met you, and you'll still be valuable long after he's gone. But sometimes when someone breaks you down, you start to question your worth. You start thinking, maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I did something wrong. That's exactly where you lose your power, when you let his actions define your value. The truth is, how someone treats you says everything about them and nothing about you. You don't need his validation to prove who you are. You don't need his apology to confirm that you deserve better. Your value doesn't shrink just because he couldn't see it. It's still there, shining quietly beneath the surface, waiting for you to remember it. A man's opinion of you should never outweigh your opinion of yourself. You have to stop measuring your worth based on someone who couldn't even see their own. If you let his lack of appreciation make you question yourself, you give him control over your self-esteem. Don't let temporary emotions or broken promises make you forget what you bring to the table. You are the table. You are the peace, the energy, the love, and the loyalty that someone else couldn't handle. Just because he failed to value it doesn't mean it wasn't real. His inability to recognize your worth doesn't erase it. It exposes his lack of depth. Some people don't know how to hold something precious, so they drop it, thinking it's replaceable. But one day when they meet people who only bring half of what you did, they'll understand the difference between attention and affection, between convenience and care. You can't keep trying to convince someone to see your value. That's like trying to explain color to someone who chooses to live in the dark. Your energy is too expensive to keep spending it on proving your worth to people who are comfortable misunderstanding you. Instead of begging someone to appreciate you, step back and watch how the right people will naturally recognize you without you saying a word. When you value yourself, your presence changes, your walk becomes different, your silence becomes confident. You stop chasing closure and start attracting peace. You realize that you don't need to fight for a seat at a table where your worth was never respected. You'll build your own table, and this time, only people who see your value will sit there. When you value yourself beyond his validation, you start to heal in a way that confuses him, because the same woman who once begged for his attention suddenly doesn't need it anymore. That shift in energy is powerful. It's when you stop needing him to validate you and start reminding yourself who you are. You remember that you were the one who loved deeply, stayed loyal, gave effort, and showed up. That was never weakness, that was strength. You gave love, and he couldn't handle it. That's not a reflection of your worth, that's proof of his limitations. The moment you start valuing yourself again, you become untouchable, because the woman who knows her worth no longer fights to prove it. She walks like she owns it. There's something powerful about a woman who can still smile after everything she's been through. A smile that's not fake, not forced, but one that comes from finally letting go of the pain. When a man hurts you, he expects to see you broken, bitter, and defeated. He expects your glow to fade, your energy to dim, and your confidence to disappear. But when you smile like you were never broken, it confuses him, because he knows what he did should have destroyed you, but it didn't. You survived it, you learned from it, you rebuilt yourself quietly, piece by piece, and came back stronger, softer, wiser, and more peaceful than ever. That kind of smile doesn't come from pretending everything's okay. It comes from realizing that you are okay even without him. When you walk with that kind of light after heartbreak, it shows that you've taken your power back. You're not smiling to prove something to him. You're smiling because you proved something to yourself. You made it through the sleepless nights, the endless overthinking, the pain that tried to break you. You stopped letting your heart be a battlefield for someone who never planned to fight for you. And now that peace you carry in your smile, it's louder than any revenge could ever be. You're not smiling because you forgot what happened. You're smiling because you forgave it, released it, and decided you deserve happiness that doesn't come with pain attached. That smile becomes your silent victory, your quiet declaration that you're done letting heartbreak define you. Your smile becomes your strength because it reflects healing. It's not about pretending the hurt never happened. It's about showing that it no longer controls you. You stopped replaying the past in your head and started focusing on what's ahead. You stopped waiting for closure and became your own closure. That's why your smile carries peace instead of bitterness. Yes, it's soft but strong, calm but powerful. It's the kind of smile that says, I've been through the fire, but I came out glowing. And when he sees that, it shakes him, because he expected you to crumble, not to rise. He expected you to chase him, not to outgrow him. He expected tears, not transformation. That's why your smile confuses him. It shows him that the pain he caused only polished your spirit instead of breaking it. A woman who smiles after heartbreak is a woman who's learned to find joy within herself again. She doesn't depend on anyone else to make her feel seen, valued, or loved. She creates her own happiness, one small moment at a time. That's real power. To love again, to laugh again, to live again without fear. You no longer wear your pain, you wear your peace. You don't carry resentment, you carry lessons. You don't chase closure, you embody growth. And your smile, that unshakable smile, becomes your final statement. It says everything without a single word, that you've moved on, you've healed, and no one can ever take that light away from you again.